Okay, good morning, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about Wormhole Gateway, which is Wormhole's gateway to the Cosmos ecosystem. I'm Robert, and I'm a Wormhole contributor.
Hey everyone, and I'm Nikhil. I'm a product lead Wormhole contributor at the Wormhole Foundation, and been working on everything Wormhole Gateway for the last couple months.
Awesome. I'll go ahead and get started. We'll do just really quickly a brief background on Wormhole's infrastructure. At the backbone of Wormhole's infrastructure is this 19 Guardian set, which is a set of 19 node operators, each of whom runs a full node on all Wormhole connected chains. The Guardians observe messages on the source chain and validate those messages, and then batch those validated messages together into a message payload called a verified action approval, or a VAA. And the kind of resource intensive bit of this is every Guardian runs 23 full nodes, one for each of Wormhole's connected chains. Brief background on the Cosmos ecosystem. Cosmos is a massive 100 plus blockchain ecosystem of composable and interconnected blockchains. The chains are connected to each other using Cosmos's open source arbitrary message passing layer called IBC, which stands for the Interblockchain Communication Protocol. And from an integration standpoint, especially from like an interoperability standpoint, these chains are so composable and interconnected via IBC that sometimes it helps to look at them as one ecosystem rather than 100 different chains. And this can lead to some difficulties with integration for most interoperability protocols, and Wormhole's no exception. Wormhole's already connected with a few Cosmos chains, and just like with all of Wormhole's connected chains, the Guardians have to run a full node on each of those chains. And this isn't really super scalable because that's a resource intensive process, and you have to onboard every chain individually by having Guardians spin up full nodes on these chains, and it gets a little complicated, and it's a slow process to integrate. In addition to that, if you have assets that are minted on these chains, they're not fungible over IBC unless they're routed back through the source chain. So, for example, if you have assets, Wormhole wrapped ETH, for example, minted on Injective, and you want to send it to Osmosis, which is not a Wormhole connected chain, you can't send that over via IBC. It creates an issue with like asset fungibility. So we needed to figure out a way to scale this, right? How do you scale across the entire Cosmos ecosystem and all of its chains? And that led to the development of Wormhole Gateway. Wormhole Gateway is an application-specific blockchain built using the Cosmos SDK. Its purpose is to connect the core Wormhole protocol with the entire suite of Cosmos app chains. And it does this by connecting with IBC. So instead of fighting against this, this native messaging layer in Cosmos, Wormhole leverages that messaging layer instead. Brief background on Gateway's architecture. It's built using the Cosmos SDK, which is a software development kit that's equipped with a number of pre-existing modules, so you don't have to spin out custom chain logic, and a composable framework for developing any additional chain logic that you need to make it compatible with the remainder of the Cosmos ecosystem. One of those pre-selected modules is the IBC module, which is what makes asset transfers via IBC possible. Oh, apologies. Gateway uses a proof of authority val set, and that is composed of the 19 Guardians. So how does this work? Gateway basically enables any Cosmos chain to access Wormhole's network of 23 connected blockchains just with one simple IBC connection. Now, when you're bridging assets across as a user, this is going to look exactly the same as it does now. You will select a destination Cosmos chain using either Wormhole Connect or Portal Bridge or any of the other bridging front ends that Wormhole offers, like Carrier, and you'll send it across, and the experience will be just as seamless as it is sending to any of Wormhole's connected chains. On the back end, that token is locked in a Wormhole contract on the source chain and minted as an ICS-20 compatible asset on Gateway, just as it is for any other chain. But from there, that asset gets locked in Gateway's IBC module, and a message is sent over IBC, minting that asset on the destination Cosmos chain. And the really cool and thing that makes this easy for Cosmos to Cosmos transfers, if you send an asset from the source Cosmos chain to another Cosmos chain, it uses Gateway as a router. So the asset will be sent to Gateway and then forwarded from there to the destination. This is possible because of an IBC middleware called the Packet Forwarding Middleware, and this was developed by Strangelove Labs. And the important thing about this is by having all these transactions route through Gateway, this solves for that fungibility problem that I talked about earlier. Assets will always be fungible across IBC via Wormhole Gateway thanks to this middleware. Now, the benefits of this. Scalability being one. This is probably the big one. Guardians only have to run one full node on Gateway instead of one for every Cosmos chain. So this allows a much easier integration for Cosmos chains. It's less resource intensive for the Guardians, and it just makes this really helpful. Fungibility, as I discussed earlier, Gateway acts as a router for IBC transfers of Wormhole assets between Cosmos chains. And the last one being security. Gateway leverages IBC Lite clients to facilitate transfers to and between Cosmos chains. Now, another really cool thing about Gateway is it's not just a method by which you can send assets or messages to Cosmos. Gateway actually improves Wormhole's core architecture for the entire network, enhancing security via a feature called the Global Accountant. This is a COSM-WASM-based accounting contract that's built directly into Gateway. And basically how it works is the Guardians will store a record of all bridge transactions that go in and out of Wormhole on Gateway's public ledger. They then run checks against this ledger to ensure that the assets bridged out of one chain never exceed the number of assets bridged in. And so what this helps with is this prevents an exploit that would result in some sort of infinite mint type bug. And that prevents cross-chain contagion from occurring due to that bug. So it protects all of Wormhole's connected chains from an infinite mint bug on one of those chains. So what is the roadmap for this? What's next? Well, August 7th, we have a governance proposal going on chain for Wormhole gaining a canonical bridge status on Osmosis, which is Cosmos's premier decentralized exchange app chain. This is actually on chain now and up for voting. So that voting will end on August 12th. And if everything's favorable, Wormhole will be a canonical bridge on Osmosis. On August 15th, Wormhole Gateway's technical launch and the connection with Osmosis will be live. And throughout the remainder of August and September, we'll start bootstrapping the Cosmos ecosystem, bringing assets over to create pools on Osmosis. This will be available for anyone to do. So soon you'll see assets like Sol, Near, Bonk, APT, Sui. All of these will be live on Osmosis. We'll also be connecting more chains. Noble, Say, Evmos, and other Cosmos chains are expressing interest, and we can talk in a minute about how those chains can reach out to get connected. And from September and beyond, Wormhole will continue to focus on Cosmos integrations and aim to be a leading provider of liquidity and cross-chain messaging for the Cosmos ecosystem. So how can Cosmos developers get involved and connect? If you're a layer 1 Cosmos chain developer, get in touch with Wormhole contributors. And Wormhole contributors can help you get integrated and set up. The Guardians will have a Wormhole governance proposal on whether to connect your chain via IBC. And all goes well, your chain will be approved and relaying will go live, and then you'll be connected. Now, once a chain has been connected to Gateway, any projects, L2s, applications that are building on that chain can permissionlessly integrate asset transfer functionality directly into their app. After this call, I will share slides and you'll be able to access these additional resources. But if you want to learn more about Gateway, there are a few things that you can look at now. You can check out the Wormhole Gateway docs on the Wormhole website. You can check out the launch announcement tweet or the presentation that Robinson Berkey, a Wormhole contributor, gave at OsmoCon. Does anyone have any questions? And this can be about Wormhole Gateway. We have Nikhil here who has spent quite a bit of time building Gateway and getting ready for this launch. So if you have any questions for him as well, we'd be happy to take those questions at this time. FT, a question. So without Gateway, full Cosmos integration would only be possible with Guardians integrating 100 plus nodes. Is this correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So as Robert had mentioned in the presentation, typically the way that Wormhole supports new chains is that Guardians run full nodes on all of those chains. And the reason why Guardians run full nodes on the chains is so that they can themselves verify that that the messages that they're receiving are valid. And so to uphold that trust or to uphold that security assumption of Wormhole, the Guardians will need to run all of the different Cosmos nodes to integrate all the different Cosmos chains. Through Gateway, we are trusting IBC to provide us with messages that are authentic.
Okay, so I have a question. So essentially, what is happening is that Gateway is in the middle of all of the chains, and as far as Cosmos is concerned, it is just another chain that is the source of all the assets transfer. So if I want to transfer an asset from one chain to a Cosmos chain, it will go to the so it will go to the Gateway, and then from Gateway it will be rerouted to the Cosmos chain. So as far as Cosmos is concerned, the source chain will be Gateway and not the original chain.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's a great way to think about it. For IBC fungibility, it'll look like Gateway will be the source chain, and that way any IBC transfer that routes through Gateway will be fungible with any Cosmos chain that Gateway is connected with. Does anyone else have any questions?
I have a.
Go ahead.
I actually need to understand more of it. So is gateway like another chain?
Yeah. So Gateway is a chain. Gateway is a Cosmos chain.
Okay, so it's built on top of Cosmos.
Yeah. It's a blockchain built using the Cosmos SDK. And when you build a chain using the Cosmos SDK, it's really easy to add IBC functionality. IBC functionality effectively
Okay,
is
yep.
built in as part of the Cosmos
Yeah.
SDK. Since speaks the same consensus, all these IBC chains speak Tendermint consensus. They all are written in Go. They all have the same like structure and framework. And so adding IBC is just pulling in a single module.
Yeah, I think I understand it now. So gateway is just another Cosmos chain, and all of the other chains just talk to that one chain, and then gateway. And since gateway is a Cosmos chain, it can interconnectedly talk to every chain, so that makes it a lot easier. Yep.
Yep, exactly.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so I actually have two questions. So the first one, I already typed it in the chat, like what role does the Cosmos Hub like play in this setup? And the second one is because I actually have a little bit of idea about Polkadot, not Cosmos. So if I'm correct, Gateway, for example, can it be implemented as like a power chain on the Polkadot network?
Yeah. No, that's a pretty very good point. So to answer your question about the Cosmos Hub, the role that the Cosmos Hub plays is just that the Cosmos Hub is going to be another Cosmos chain that Gateway can connect to. And so Gateway can, just as Gateway connects to Osmosis, Gateway can connect to the Cosmos Hub. And then if someone wants to transfer assets from an external chain like Ethereum to the Cosmos Hub, that will get routed through Gateway. Then if they want to take those tokens and go from the Cosmos Hub to Osmosis, those tokens will get routed through Gateway. So it'll work the same way as any other chain connection. To answer your question, about implementing Gateway as a parachain in Polkadot, yeah, you could definitely do something like this. Polkadot is kind of a similar structure in that it has all this ecosystem of parachains, and the parachains speak the sort of native messaging format. And so you can do something very similar in the Polkadot ecosystem where you deploy a Wormhole Gateway parachain, and then you route all the asset transfers that are going into the Polkadot ecosystem on that parachain.
All right. Thank you very much.
Does anyone else have any questions? Okay. Yeah, and maybe I'll just shut the recording down here and kind of open up the remaining time. Nikhil, if you don't mind, maybe just if anyone wants to ask any non-gateway related questions while we have you here, I'm sure that that people here would appreciate it. And yeah, I will definitely send the slides after the call.